drafted locally for the Carolinas.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get Rob.
The fan upstate.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Thursday edition of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Good to have you. Let's get that bread, shall we? Time to work. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine. Directly across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass this morning, the content cash cow, hashtag dad kicks, Colonel Grudge, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate. He is the great one, Lonzo, in charge of the broadcast. What up, Zoe?
Where my bots at? Where they at? I ain't seen them yet. I'll be here all day. And I mean that literally. We'll be here all day. Where my bots at?
They'll show up. They'll show up. I don't like you calling our listeners bots, though. That's kind of rude. That's kind of rude.
I'm not calling them bots. I'm calling the bots.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a day we've got lined up for you on the radio broadcast today. We're going to start looking ahead to the football weekend because there's some interesting games going on. I want to spend a little bit more time on the Clemson-Florida State game. I'm very intrigued by that game. I was listening yesterday to a couple of different shows around the area that were getting into it. And there was a whole heck of a lot of, Clemson's winning by 40. Right? There's no chance this is a game. No chance this is a challenge. And I'm kind of wondering a little bit if the Clemson Tiger football program actually feels the same way. I'm kind of wondering a little bit if they've got that same mentality. And I'm not even saying that, they'd be wrong for having it. They have been good lately, for sure. But there is a little part of me that asks if there's not maybe a little bit too much hype, right? We've all heard the phrase reading their own bulletin board material, right? We've all heard the phrase they're up in their own heads, a little over cocky, a little confident, maybe overconfident. We've all heard that phrase. And I've got to ask the question, is this a bit of a surprise game, right? I don't know that it's necessarily a trap game. Because like I said, you look down the schedule and coming up after FSU, they do have a top 18 team in Syracuse. But as we mentioned yesterday, Syracuse's schedule ain't been much. It's going to be the least, they are the least impressive top 20 team right now. They're on the road at Notre Dame the week after that. Notre Dame is very interesting in that they started 0-2, but they have seemed to turn it around a little bit, right? They seem to have been pointed right in the direction since then. Notre Dame, after starting 0-2, has now won 3 in a row. They knocked off Cal, they knocked off Carolina, and they knocked off a pretty decent BYU team. They got Stanford this week. But perhaps they're looking ahead a little bit, right? And so my question is there a chance that Clemson gets caught off guard by FSU? And I ask that because FSU has run the ball relatively well this year. They have got that three-headed monster that Clemson has done so well the last few years of having rotating RBs for different situations, for different downs and distances, and just to keep legs fresher. They've got a 6'7" wide receiver that has had a handful of spectacular catches down in the end zone. They've got a head coach that understands how big this game is, right? This is pardon me, terrible timing.
You know, the you're a little short on the tactical there.
Yeah,
you got part of it made it on the air.
You got to make the decision earlier. You know, you got to commit to you've got to commit to the deployment of the tactical cough button, and I failed.
I'm disappointed. I do believe that you can do better in the future.
I expect better myself.
I don't know that you need to practice at something like this. I think a lot of it is talent, and it could be a sign of age. I mean, you might be Tom Bradying the tactical cough button.
One old joke about Lonzo, and then it's going to be the rest of the week.
The week.
They've got Johnny Wilson, who can go up and get the ball at 6'7". They've got a run game that you've got to stay committed to stopping, right? Ask BC. As soon as that run game gets rolling, they're tough to stop. Their offensive line is not the best Clemson has faced so far, but it ain't bad at all. Defensively, the texter just said, "Fan, damn, dude." Yeah, I know that. I tried, okay?
People eating breakfast, and the part that made it on the air was the worst part.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
It went tickle in the throat, and I'm like, you got this. Suppressing fire, hold it down, and then it just got to the point, and it's like, nah. And I went to go, so what happened was I went to go tactical cough button, you know? We got the tactical cough button that lets me just hold the mic down, but I reached for the off button instead. And I didn't want to go full off because the off makes a little clicky, kind of a clicky noise. I didn't want to do that. I cough like 10 times a show that you guys don't hear, thanks to the tactical cough button. I just blew it that time.
But you do on the stream. Make sure you tune in so you can hear Rob cough.
Yeah, there's the selling point. Anyway, why am I even wasting my time finishing my thoughts on this game? I'm just gonna blow it again.
I'm hearing everything you're saying, but I'm not buying any of it. We know that I'm not exactly a Clemson fan, but Clemson's not going to lose this game. Clemson, they're not going to lose a game all year until they make it to the playoff, and then they're going to get their butts beat by somebody. They're not. I think the ACC is getting a lot of love. They're overrated. Their teams are ranked because they got to rank somebody, and so they just decided to throw some love the ACC way. I think, and this might be conspiracy theory on my part, but I think they just want to pump up Clemson by making the ACC better.
So, in your opinion, Florida State has no chance this weekend.
See, he's doing this because
I'm genuine. It's a genuine question.
No, this is Rob. A bet's coming your way.
No, it's not. It's honestly.
This is probably going to be on Boo Box tomorrow. I'm sure.
It definitely is. Yeah. I'm warning you in advance. I'll give you the heads up. This one definitely is. But I'm asking this question now because I honestly do not know who I'm picking. Right now, it's Clemson minus 3.5. So I'm leaning Clemson, but it's not full tilt because I said this yesterday on the show. There's just something that feels dangerous about this game for Clemson in Tallahassee, where FSU fans have kind of started feeling themselves a little again.
You should go with your gut.
For Clemson.
You should go with your gut for sure.
I know that's what I'm saying. I don't have a gut pick here.
No, I was going to say you should go with Florida State. I'm going to tell you I'm not. So you should go ahead and go.
Did you just ignore the part that I just literally said a second ago? I'm leaning Clemson.
You also said you didn't know. When you're leaning one way, you can lean the other way. Correct.
I am leaning Clemson, but I don't know who I'm picking yet. Because this game it feels like, for FSU, it feels like a legacy game. It feels like a game. It feels like one of their sod cemetery games. It feels like one of those games, right, that Norvell understands the importance of this game in his tenure, right? They started 4-0. They went and dropped a couple of top 15 teams. They're now sitting at 4-2. But their only 2 losses were 2 really good teams. A Wake Forest team that if they weren't in the same division as Clemson would be playing them in the ACC championship game a second time. And an NC State team on the road that's defensively one of the betters in the ACC as well. This game, especially at a point where Florida State fans have sold out the game against Florida at the end of the year, right? Like most of their games are sellouts now. That doesn't mean everybody's going to be there. It just means the tickets are sold. This game just feels like FSU's got nothing but this game that matters the rest of the year, right? Like they want to beat Miami. They want to beat Florida. But this game would be the game that if you are a recruit who's asking, is FSU back enough that I would want to go play there? A win over Clemson this weekend would absolutely do it, right? It would push you over the edge. Clemson's the better team. I'm not arguing that, right? Clemson is the better football team. They have more talented athletes. They have better coaching. They are the better team. But that's not how we determine who wins a football game. FSU is going to, just like Boston College did, right? Boston College was right there in Clemson's back pocket for a half. Now, as who was it yesterday? I think Steven in the stream yesterday pointed out. He said if Bo Collins catches the touchdown pass in the first half, it probably opens the floodgates and it feels like a different game, and that might be correct. But he didn't, and it didn't. Boston College, for a full half at BC, had Clemson trying to figure something out, right? And then second half, DJ opened it up, and Clemson went bricks on them. But it took them a half to get going. Florida State is better than Boston College. I'm not saying that they're playoff ready. They're not. But they're better than BC. And Tallahassee, considering this is a night game, Tallahassee is going to be loud. It is going to be, in my estimation, the most hostile environment that Clemson has played in so far this year. I don't know how much that impacts that football team, right? I don't know how headstrong they are yet, because I don't think that Clemson has played in this hostile of an environment at this point. Georgia Tech certainly was not that. Wake Forest was top 14, but they're not packing it out like Tallahassee. And Boston College wasn't it. I don't know that Clemson is, scratch that. I do know. I should stop saying that. I absolutely know that Clemson is not played in an environment that is going to be as hostile as Tallahassee is on Saturday. Now, granted, you come out, you put up 21 quick. That'll silence it, right? But I go back to that Florida State game against Wake Forest, right? Florida State on the first drive popped it into the end zone against Wake. I was flipping channels at that point, and they came on and interrupted whatever game was on and said, shocking development here is Florida State. Opening possession goes almost the length of the field and punches one in. And people started paying attention. Tallahassee was sold out. It was loud. Day game. And then Wake came back and answered with like 3 straight touchdowns. And all of a sudden that stadium, Doak Campbell Stadium, was empty. Right? There's a way to do it. Go grab your 21 straight. Shut them up. Don't worry about it. But if Florida State comes out of the gate hot, Tallahassee's going to get loud. It's going to get obnoxious. Clemson is better than Wake Forest. We know that. Wake went into Tallahassee and beat FSU. But Wake's got that weird mesh offense, right? Clemson more traditional pro style with DJ back there. I know it doesn't sound like much, but that's advantage Wake in that spot. Just like Clemson had trouble with him because it's such a weird offense. Florida State runs the ball well. They've got good receivers, including one who is absolutely a jump ball winner more often than he's not. The environment's going to be hostile. And like I said, you're their Super Bowl. Mike Norvell absolutely understands what a legacy game this might be for them. So, Clemson fans, is there any apprehension here? Is there any anxiety? Is there any bit of you that looks at this game in Tallahassee and wonders, is this the stumbling block to getting back to the playoff? Lonzo says no. Lonzo says he's confident in a win. Maybe not the cover, but a win. We'll find out tomorrow on the Boo Box Bet segment.
Well, what'd you say, 3?
3.5.
Yeah.
Got to win by 4 better.
Yeah. I'm confident in the cover. If it's on there, I'm going with Clemson.
Okay. All right.
I want them to lose. I'd love to see them lose. They're not going to, though.
Texter, oh, look at this. We got a Florida State fan showing up on the text thread. Texter says, fan, no matter the season, FSU for the win. Show up and show out. Go Noles. Clemson Texter says, hope that one dude brought his book again, LOL. You remember that guy, Lonzo? That guy, for those of you who don't know, I think it was during the Taggart era, there was a Florida State game where Bill Campbell was empty because the Noles sucked. And they showed a big fat guy. I can say that because I'm also a big fat guy. They showed a big fat guy.
So insensitive.
Up in the top of the rafters at Doak Campbell Stadium with his shirt off, blue jeans on, reading a book. And he became a meme for exactly how far FSU had fallen. Dude said, I hope he brings his book again.
Did you find out what book it was?
I did not. I assume it was like.
I guess I'm the only one who asks these questions. You know, if you're bringing a book to a game, what book is it?
Well,
I want to know.
It turns out he was an English professor at the school. And I guess either his office or there was some office in the stadium that he works out of. And basically he was like, well, the stadium's empty. Might as well go get me some sun while I read. That's how bad FSU football was. Texas says, Rob, say 6'7" receiver one more time. Rob against the run game. Rob against the running game plays right into the strength of the Clemson defense. I'm not predicting a rout, but Clemson stacks up fairly well with better athletes. I agree. Clemson has the better athletes. I wonder if the emotion of Florida State, and Florida State's athletes are bad, right? The biggest mistake Clemson would make in this one would be to think that they can just go in there and just out-athlete FSU. You do have the better athletes. But Florida State has played relatively good football. Wake picked them apart. NC State. Keep in mind, NC State barely won that game, right? Jordan Travis makes one different throw in the back end of the fourth quarter, and Florida State probably walks that thing off, although I will tell you, FSU's kicking games are hilariously bad. So if you can force them in the field goals, they're going to miss about half. Texas says, Lonzo, they are not Notre Dame. They have won a couple of natties. I love that there will never be a point where Notre Dame smack talk isn't appreciated.
They're right, though. Yeah, they're right.
And a texter to our other station says, a pound of butter at Walmart yesterday was almost $6. Who is buying butter by the pound?
Most people?
By the pound?
Yes.
By the pound.
Oh, you talking about just... Yeah, okay.
Alexa, how many ounces are in a pound? 16. Well, I guess 16 ounces. I guess that's not obnoxious.
It's like a stick of butter, dude.
No, 16 ounces is not a stick of butter. 16 ounces is half of this bottle.
Butter's heavier than water.
I understand, but the ounce of size, 16 ounces is a lot of butter. It's a lot of butter.
So how do you buy? Do you buy one of these little Trader Joe's hipster things of butter? If you buy butter, you buy it in a tub usually. You don't eat it in one setting. It lasts for, weeks or months.
I guess I've never thought about the weights and measurements of butter. What would you call that thing? A country crock you get? A bucket of butter?
It's a tub.
Apparently you can buy 5-pound tubs of butter.
And how big is it? I understand the poundage. So it's like a regular tub.
Dude, how much butter are y'all using?
The other thing is you're making it sound like you're eating the butter in one setting. Butter lasts a really long time.
I mean, maybe I just don't use as much butter as I thought
I
did.
don't really use butter at all, but I do know that my wife will use butter occasionally, like for baking or something. But yeah, butter lasts a long time.
I guess I've just never used that much butter. All right. 844 fan phone, 844-326-36.
You're right, Trey. 1%ers don't use butter.
What are you talking about? Well, of course I use butter.
What do you use it for?
Bought that. No, if I need butter, I send my servant to the store to bring back a stick of butter.
No. Employee.
Sorry, employee. Texture says, worst take you have ever had, Rob. Butter is not country crock. That's margarine.
It is margarine. And there's a difference between margarine and butter. Butter is better than margarine. Dude, you're in the South and you're cracking on butter.
I'm
do
not
you know
cracking on butter.
Do you people, how much butter do you people eat? That's cracking. That is cracking on the listeners.
First off, I use Kerrygold pure Irish butter. All right. The best butter is Kerrygold Irish.
Hipster.
That's a fact.
Hipster.
Kerrygold Irish is the best butter.
Where would you buy such a thing?
You can literally buy it at Walmart.
I have never seen that.
I will send you a picture of it.
Is there a hipster section?
It's literally in the butter section.
Is there like quinoa and stuff like that over there?
I'm done with this. Kerrygold naturally softer grass-fed pure Irish butter comes in an 8-ounce tub. And I don't know that I've ever actually finished that tub. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. A few more thoughts on that game. We got some thoughts coming up later on. And Rashad Beard is good. Yes, I know. I got Harley in the break. I got it.
I know, but you still upset about the butter thing. Come on.
You're insulting.
By the way, I'm not from here, but I've lived here nearly half my life, and I approve of butter.
Texture said,
unlike Rob.
Texture said, when did y'all get married?
Butter hater.
Rob gets Wagyu butter. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, maybe. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, stream, discuss butter amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Rob's just being a price denier. He also obviously doesn't like butter, which is weird. I mean, again, I don't eat a lot of butter, but I do not disparage those who do eat butter.
Get ready for the game with more details and preview at wrasslin1sports.com.
Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get
And James, you can't make a turn when you're already there.
select oil filter for just $33.99.
Although he and I fight over who the real heel of the show is, and the real heel is not on this show. So, I mean, there's that.
All right, what is up, everybody on the stream? Rob working on a heel turn. I'm not what.
I look down my nose at you butter eaters.
This feature sponsored by NHTSA. Any first responder will tell you, never try to beat a train. After braking,
So before you decided to go with the Irish, whatever that long name butter is, what kind of butter did you use before that? Which
Margarine.
which is margarine. Okay.
Margarine.
At least he's not a vegan, At least there's that. Trying to
One of
find
those.
the positive in this. Because if he were, this room would be smelly. Gotta admit, I'm not sure I know a vegan personally, but I'm just guessing that, you eat a lot of green stuff that, I know what happens when I eat a lot of green stuff. So I'm just thinking,
Fiber.
yes, I'm just thinking that it might be a little bit smelly in here if you worked in here with a vegan. Hey, you choose whatever lifestyle you want, but do you carry around Febreze with you if you're a vegan? I'm just curious.
sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
Or are you offended when people don't like your gas? QC in the next break. Nod or something.
QC in the next break.
Thank you.
All right, short segment here because we got Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast coming up in the next segment. You guys have absolutely decided to lay into me about this butter thing. The text line is getting me. The Facebook stream is getting me. I don't not eat butter, y'all.
Listen. Everyone can go back and listen on the Odyssey app, or you can go back on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or YouTube and see your disdain for butter eaters. And we all saw it. I mean, there was but I mean, how much butter do you people eat? I mean, I think that's a direct quote. I'm pretty sure.
Can we acknowledge that, for instance, Paula Deen used too much butter?
I don't know. I never ate any of her food. She does it at a restaurant at the beach, though.
Paula Deen uses too much butter. All right.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Have you eaten any of Paula?
I have literally cooked Paula Deen's stuff.
Yeah,
she uses too much butter.
But Paula didn't make it.
She's like, you know how much butter you need? Whatever you think it is, triple it. It's too much stuff. I'm not saying it's bad. I like butter. I put butter on a lot of stuff. I'm just saying, how many of y'all are buying butter by the 5-pound tub?
He's upping it. He's upping it.
Well, because I didn't know 5-pound tubs existed when this started. 5 pounds?
You've never seen a tub in the over. Well, not
I've seen like the Circle Country Crock ones that are like,
dude. They're
big.
not that small. They're about this big. Okay, this big. He's not looking at my hands. They're about this big. All right, this big around. Yes, they are.
No, I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that's a ridiculous amount of butter.
As a former grocery employee for
ridiculous.
many years, I know how big they are.
All right. Steve says, which is more blasphemous in the South? Rob's take on butter or Zoe's take on Duke's Mayo?
All right, Duke's Mayo that's only really popular in this area because the plant's down the road, and people feel beholden to it because they probably know someone who works there. I get that, okay, but
Texter
I'm not
says-
going to be a part of your cult. There is no butter cult though.
Texter says, I bet Rob likes Miracle Whip, not Duke's Mayo. I'm gonna go and tell you right now. You put Miracle Whip on my burger, I'm not eating it.
He can't
Miracle
tell.
Whip is
He can't.
disgusting.
You know, you're trying to turn this, and I get it. I get it. The text line's trying to save you from your butter hate by bringing me into the Dukes thing. That's what you're. No, they're trying to do that.
Was about me.
Yeah, but they're helping to swerve the situation to try to save you from all the people who you've disparaged by saying you. How much butter do you people eat?
I'm just saying, 5 pounds. Like, if you have a family of 4, maybe I can see 5 pounds of butter being distributed evenly betwixt you all. But that's a hell of a lot of butter, man.
When you buy a gallon of milk, do you drink it all in one setting? Do you just sit down and drink all that milk?
Listen, no. That's not the
What
point.
the Duke's Mayo
But I
conversation.
do
When you buy
drink-
Duke's Mayo, do you eat it all in one setting?
When I drink milk, I do drink a glass of it at a time.
Right. And people don't go, got my tub,
Right, but
and
how
where's
much-
my spoon? That's not what they do.
All right, I don't want to talk about butter anymore.
But you guys can continue to do that. Text line 71307.
Rob, it's called family size, but we understand you hate kids and butter.
There it is.
I don't. I just want less of them in
Keep
my
your
life.
butter loving kid out of my face. I caught this baseball.
Texter said Clemson fans eat butter by the stick. All right. No more. No more. I'm this close to putting butter onto the banned discussion list on this show.
No. You guys want to talk about butter? This is your show to talk about butter.
Hey, stick to sports, Lonzo. Stick to sports.
That's you saying that, not the text line, because you offended them all. How much butter do you people eat?
Stick to
I
sports.
gotta find that. That's gonna be a thing.
All right. I don't even know where
We're gonna take a break now.
I really
and
wanted
then
to,
we're gonna get to Rashad.
I really planned on talking more FSU Clemson. But
You
I
know
guess
what?
We'll hang on.
You
to that.
don't have to read the text line. It's you're not contractually obligated to read the text line.
Oh, now Tara's gonna be so confused because now there's butter text going on from both stations and they're starting to bleed over.
Oh, she'll love it. She'll be fine with it. Hopefully I'll get a text going, what's going on over there, and so I can point out on another station how much you hate butter and people who love butter.
Texter says Clemson fans can stick a whole stick of butter in between their missing front teeth.
You got to have the uppers and bottoms though out for that. You got to have the matching set or not matching set.
No, we are crossing lines. I don't want to cross here.
They got them teeth. They just left them at home in the cup.
Let's take a break, okay? Let's take a break, and when we come back,
let's take a butter break.
When we come back, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to join us. And no, I am not going to ask him about his butter eating habits. You guys are train wrecking my show, and I don't appreciate it. All right? The show is better than that. No, it's not. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, stream. Got to do a read. Be right back.
I can't hear you.
Works better when you turn the microphone on. What's up, brother?
What's up?
How you doing, big dog?
Been good. Been pretty good. Can't complain at
I
all.
feel you. How did you celebrate the other day?
Man, I had like 3 live streams that day, a couple
I
interviews.
saw y'all go live like once in the afternoon, once at night.
Yeah, it was busy. It was busy. A lot of talking.
The grind is real.
Yep.
I apologize for Rob being so quiet. He's dealing with all the butter hate, and he
I know,
just,
people, dude, they're coming at me today.
yeah, he
don't like
he doesn't know
I
how to
don't
handle
appreciate it.
I'm used to hate. Rob's not. He gets all the love.
Rashad getting props in the chat before we even go on the air. How about it? Rashad knows what he's talking about. We wouldn't have him on if he didn't.
It's true.
It's true.
Definitely more right than I'm wrong.
You good, buddy? I didn't see who said it was looking for. Or I didn't hear what he said.
I have no idea who that was.
I don't.
I mean, I don't know. That happened a year ago. I'd be like, okay, who are you? I didn't see enough of them to see who it was. At first, I thought it was Tim, but I don't know why he would be coming in here. He would just text me. We will kneel at 11:20. Alonzo's Fight Club. Got a lot of wrestling to talk about.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, Rob, Lonzo, and you. And it's time, as it is every Thursday, to talk a little Carolina Panther football with my guy, Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But make sure you get up on their YouTube channel as well. Search Panther Nation podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to that. When I say they go live all the time, Rashad spent 23 hours just on one day after Matt Rule got fired. I don't think he went off the stream that day. Shad, what's up, big dog?
What's going on? It's time to zap our brains of the Matt Rule era. I don't think it happened. I don't even know who he is. So let's move on. Let's
start with this. What was your response when you got the news, when you woke up and you got the text, you got the alert on the phone, and you saw the bad man can't hurt you anymore? What was your response to that?
It's funny. I was in the gym. I was working out, and my trainer he has on ESPN in the gym, and he said, "Hey, look," and he knows I pod, and so I was towards the end of my workout. I ran home. Gym's like right around the corner from my house, and I turned on the cameras and went live. And I was actually surprised that it happened so quick. I thought he was going to at least make it through this next stretch. But it didn't happen. And the writing was on the wall. All these decisions started to compound, and it is what it is. I saw no pathway moving forward. And again, I think it's important that we get ahead of the game when it comes to these, the next head coach, right? Whether it's going to be Wilkes or whoever it's going to be. We got to get ahead of the game. And so I get it. I just didn't expect for it to happen so soon.
So my thought here was I think there were probably multiple moving pieces. The first thought I had was, it's kind of win-win-win for everybody, right? Because like you said, the writing's on the wall. Matt Rule now gets to go start polishing up his resume if he wants to go back to college to do that. Nebraska's got a job opening. Wisconsin's got a job opening. I'm thinking more and more by the week, Auburn is going to have a job opening, and Matt Rule's going to be a highly sought-after college coach. B, he's got that buyout up north of $40 million, and the clause in that contract is future earnings against that buyout won't have to be paid by Carolina. So David Tepper, if Matt Rule with the jump start can grab one of those jobs and get a 60% of Nick Saban's contract, David Tepper won't even have to pay the buyout, or at least not the majority of it. And C, Carolina, by being the first team to get on the head coaching carousel, is going to have the most time to evaluate, to talk to players, to talk to other coaches, and to find the right guy. It's really kind of wins all around, which is why I think that move got made so unexpectedly quick.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Everything you said was spot on. I definitely agree. I think Matt Rule is going to get a college job, which is where he belongs. I don't think he belongs in the NFL. If he happens to come back, I hope he learned a lot of lessons, because there's a lot of things that are coming out which are kind of disturbing, but kind of make sense at the same time with his abilities or want to control everything. So it's kind of scary. The amount of control and how involved he was, which in turn ran the team to the ground. So he can take that to college. That stuff does not work in the NFL, and it showed. He was not an X and O's guy. He didn't have a particular skill set on the offense or defensive side of football, which is I came on the show and said it 1,000 times. It's just not going to work. He's a people manager, and he didn't quite manage the people that well. So you can't excel where you're good. It just wasn't going to work out. And so yeah, he'll go back to college and be successful or semi-successful. I don't think winning bowl games is what I deem successful. I don't think he quite done that in college either, just to be honest. But he'll get a job in college somewhere, and I think it's time for us to turn the page and get a real coach here.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because you mentioned like his desire to be not just in control, but to really micromanage, and that's something that's followed him around, which, as you mentioned, not just does that work in college. That is what works in college, but as you pointed out, does not work in the NFL. But what's interesting, and PJ Walker elaborated a little bit on this yesterday, was that it seems, according to a lot of reports, that the team was still very much on Matt Rule's side, and a few of them have even vocally, including PJ Walker, this week's starting quarterback, have even vocally expressed a little bit of disappointment. David Tepper said he didn't even talk to the team, right? He didn't go ask them, is this the right move? Are you guys ready to move on? Do you want him to stick around? He just dropped the axe without checking with the team first. I'm not saying that Tep is right or wrong for that. I am saying there is the potential for consequences if the team was bad but still in Matt Rule's back pocket and the owner dropped the axe on him without even checking. I don't wonder if maybe there's a little bit of locker room drama that's still going to have to get worked out between the owner and the team, and between the team and whoever is the next head coach, whether it's Steve Wilkes or somebody else.
Yeah, I do not. And when Tepper said that he didn't consult, I'm not necessarily consult. I don't think consult was the right word, but at least, hey, we're getting ready to move on. Like, let's talk about this. I wish he would have went to the team. And again, he runs his business the way he wants to, but I wish he would at least had a discussion with the team first. Now, to your point about PJ Walker, of course, PJ Walker is going to feel a type of way. He goes back to Temple with Matt Rule. So there's a lot of guys on this roster that go back to Temple or Baylor with Matt Rule. So of course they're going to have some sort of resentment. I will guarantee you that a lot of those Temple and Baylor guys will not be on the roster next year, because they, quite frankly, will not be. They wouldn't be on anybody else's roster in the league. Just to be honest, I mean, a lot of these guys like Bravion Roy, PJ Walker, these guys are getting a shot because of Matt Rule, and they're thankful for that. Guys like Robbie Anderson, a guy who handed Matt Rule the game ball, right, a couple weeks ago, you could see him potentially, pitch a fit, and I don't want to be here anymore. That is something that I think could potentially happen. So there's a lot of Rule connected players. So of course there's going to be some sort of animosity towards it. They might not necessarily animosity, but they're going to feel a type of way about it, and as they should, right? They have an opportunity. Matt Rule gave them the opportunity. It is what it is there. But we got to move on. If they don't want to be here, so be it. We got to get these W's and whatever it takes to get the W's. And I think this was step one in that process.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Make sure you check them out on YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Panther Nation podcast. Let's take the next step here. Lonzo and I have had a lot of discussion about this since the news broke on Monday, and that is who might stay and might go. You mentioned a lot of Temple guys, a lot of Baylor guys that will likely not be on the roster at least as early as next year, and I think you're spot on. But obviously the names are a question mark, and I guess it starts with, in your opinion, are we flat out hammering the full wholesale rebuild button here, or are we looking at a foundation of young players, right? Because I've seen names like Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin and Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore pop up on, and even Christian McCaffrey pop up on a lot of fans' radar as these guys are out. Now, you mentioned, I think a guy like Robbie, he might very well say, I'm done with this. I can go play somewhere and win, and it ain't here. But, I think Carolina has a really valuable block of young foundational players. I don't think they need to go full fire sale to rebuild the franchise. I think you're already a good chunk of the way into a potential rebuild. But what does the future look like for those cats? Could you see Carolina pulling a couple of trades to build up a big pool of draft picks, a la Bill Belichick, to walk their way into the next era?
Yeah, well, if you look at the current draft picks, we only have 4 going into next season. So that's not a lot of draft picks. So I don't think you'll see a full-on fire sale. Like with you, I agree. Guys like Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, J.C. Horn, there's a DJ Moore. There's a lot of good talent on this roster, and we just recently fixed our offensive line, for goodness sake. So I don't think there's going to be a complete teardown of the roster. I don't think that's necessary. I think once you start to tear down that roster, you actually reduce the attraction to the job. So if you keep guys like Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, you're going to attract a solid head coach. So I think that they're not going to completely tear it down. I do think you'll see maybe 1 or 2 guys get traded just to acquire some picks. Maybe guys like Robbie Anderson, who aren't necessarily cornerstones of the franchise, but they're talented guys. I think you'll see guys like that be dealt. But I don't think there's a need to tear it down. You have to look at the entire picture of the NFC South. All you need to do is win the NFC South in the playoffs. I know it's a lot harder said than done, but you look at Tom Brady, where he is in his career towards the end. Bucks are going to go down as soon as he leaves. The Saints aren't that great right now. The Falcons aren't that great right now. So you don't need to tear it down. You have to just if we can just solve the quarterback problem, I think, and bring in a good coach that has some talent and knows what he's doing, I think you can turn it around sooner rather than later.
Have you started putting together your list of coaching candidates? And if so, give me a name or 2 that are at the top of the Rashard Beard wish list.
Man, so I think you'll like this one. I don't think it's going to happen, but Sean Payton is got to be on that list, right? And I think if you see, and I know the Saints own his contract. I get all that. It's highly unlikely to happen, but I would love to have an offensive mind in here. Like Ken Dorsey is a guy I would like to have back. He's a Carolina guy, QB coach for Cam Newton. He's doing his thing up in Buffalo. I would like to have him back. D'Amico Ryan from San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. I think he'd be a great pick as well. Brian Flores is another guy I like, who I think should get another shot. There's a lot of guys. A lot of guys I would hope to have. But I think that if I had to, cap it to about 4 guys, I think that would be my top 4. But I need an offensive guy in the building.
So one guy that you did not name, and I'm very interested in, is Steve Wilks. There's a lot of Arizona fans that say that Steve Wilks got a raw deal, right? He got handed a garbage fire of a Cardinals team. He got handed Josh Rosen as his quarterback to operate with. He went 3-13. They let him go. He popped up in the Brian Flores lawsuit connected to some of the same arguments there. Is this potentially an on-the-job audition for Steve Wilks to just take the interim tag off? And if so, what does he need to accomplish? How many wins would he need to keep the job at the end of the season?
Let's be honest here. I'm cheering for Wilks. I think he's a hometown guy. He's from here. Went to John C. Smith. And so I'm there's nobody cheering for Wilkes harder than me. Like, I want him to get this job. At the end of the day, it's highly unlikely that he's going to keep this job. One, the interim to head coach, it rarely ever happens. And I think he's going to have to do. I mean, he's going to have to do a great job to get us in. I mean, I'm talking about near playoffs to get it to keep the job. I don't think it's going to happen. If you look at the context of what's going on, PJ Walker's your starting quarterback going against the Rams right now. We don't know when Baker's going to get healthy. We don't know. There is so much confusion around the quarterback position. And look at the defensive side of football. You got a lot of guys with hamstrings. J.C. Horn on IR. Not J.C. Jeremy Chin on IR. J.C. Horn hurt right now, not practicing. Xavier Woods also hurt. There's a lot of defensive guys hurt. And so there's a lot. He's got a one hell of a job, an uphill battle to get this job. Can he do it? Sure. To get it, I think he's going to at least have to get us to about 8 to 9 wins. And that's
a big ask.
It's tough.
That's a big ask. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on the social media at Panther Nation PC, but make sure you're subscribed to their YouTube page, Panther Nation Podcast. Rashad, my dude, appreciate you, big dog. We'll talk to you next week.
Anytime.
There you go. That's Rashad Beard. He's the best. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Appreciate you, big dog.
Yep.
All right. Be right back, stream. All right, we back. How about we do that at, I don't know, 11:20? Sound good?
I already addressed that, but it's good to address it again.
I did hear you say that. You
yeah,
said 4 Fight Club, but I wanted to put it up on the screen. It was my excuse to put that on the scrreen.
He doesn't really listen to me unless I talk about butter or
I literally just said what you
said.
said.
Yeah, no, that was the whole point. But yeah, you should tune in at 11:20. You should. Just want to point out just about everything that I said on the Views from Mint Street podcast that Rashad reflected the same thing that I said. Yeah, just want to point that out.
Lonzo R. Smart.
That was more of a so there to you. That's all. That's just want you to know that. Chris hasn't been back in the room. That doesn't bode well.
He was still in there working.
Jeez. Please don't lose my stuff.
He's
I should have copied it to something else. If I lose like 4 hours worth of work, I might as well just not go home, period. Warehouse in the first break.
Our numero dos to the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is on the other side of the glass, cleaning up my messes hour after hour. Glad to have you guys. Phone lines open, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. You can text the radio broadcast, 71307 on the Preferred Home Services text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. Got a guest joining us here, and I am very excited about it, not just because I enjoy talking golf with this gentleman, but because there is a very cool event coming up at Floor Field tomorrow and Saturday that we wanted to let you know a little bit about. He is the executive director of First Tee of the Upstate, one of the organizations that I love being able to do some work with here and there. He is Mr. Michael Pius joining us on the show. Mike, what's up, my dude?
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, buddy. Happy to do it. Of course, before we get into what's going on at Floor Field, and before we get into the First Tee of the Upstate, because like I said, I've been enjoying being able to work with you guys on and off since I've gotten up here. I used to do a lot of work with First Tee back in the Emerald Coast of Florida as well. Before I get to any of that, I need your take on the drama between the Live Tour and the PGA Tour, because the theory has come out now that the PGA Tour is not necessarily pushing back against Live Tour guys getting world points because they care, but more because as long as they can keep them from getting points, the further off the date is that they start getting those points to cap up in the world rankings, the harder it's going to be them to catch the guys that are on the tour. What has been your thoughts on all this Live Tour, PGA Tour drama over the past 6 or 8 months?
Yeah, I mean, I've had kind of mixed feelings on it. Obviously, I'm kind of a traditionalist. I love the PGA Tour. I love what they've done. I've been a part of it since, like, a little kid, just being a standard bearer at the Kemper Open outside of Washington, D.C., and just have great memories of the PGA Tour. And but you know what? Competition is good. I think it makes for a better product, right? So I think you can already see that the PGA Tour is making changes to their schedule, to, the payouts and everything. So, competition is always good. I don't know. I don't see it lasting very long. Yeah, I saw some tweets and some things about, I think the last event down towards the tail end of the final round, there were like 17,000 people watching it on YouTube. So, obviously that'll probably change once they get a major market, a major, Fox to come on and sign on to televise it. That'll probably change that viewership. But I don't know. I don't see it lasting, more than 2 years. I think some of the big name guys sign, multi-year contracts over that. Like I think DJ's got a 4-year with them, but I've kind of mixed feelings on it. I'm all about the PGA Tour. I love what they do for their community. We have a great relationship with the BMW Charity Pro-Am here, where we put on a number of clinics. I mean, we had over 200 kids go through our 4 clinics this past June here at the PGA, the Corn Ferry Tour event, which all, falls under the umbrella of the PGA Tour. So, yeah, again, like I'm all about the PGA Tour. I'm all about that. I haven't even watched a second of it on YouTube, the Live Tour. I don't plan on watching it. So that's kind of where I stand.
Michael Pius, Executive Director, First Tee of the Upstate. And we'll talk about the event here in just a second. But Mike, I've obviously been a First Tee fan for a very long time. I worked with those guys. A guy by the name of Marty Stanovich was the executive director down on the Emerald Coast of Florida. Worked with him for a long time. Obviously, I reached out to you guys as soon as I got here to the Upstate to try to pitch in as well, predominantly because not only do I love golf, but I love what you guys do. For the folks out there that might be listening that don't know a ton about what First Tee of the Upstate is, give them kind of a little background here as to what you guys' goals and objectives are.
Yeah, so we're a youth development program that teaches kids life skills through the game of golf. So we're using golf as that tool to teach honesty, integrity, sportsmanship, courtesy, interpersonal skills, goal setting, resiliency skills. These are all skills that are going to make them great golfers, but also great students at school, great kids at home. And so we bridge those inherent values that are part of the game of golf. So if your listeners are golfers, that there is just this certain kind of aura around the game that teaches you life skills. You're your own referee. There's no referee out there. So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to show integrity. You may be paired up with someone when you go over to Legacy Pines for the first time and tee it up, and you're a single, and you may be paired with 3 people that you don't know. And they could be from different parts of the Upstate, from the other side of town, and you get to know them, and you get to, know about those people. It's a great way to do business, right? How much business is done out on a golf course. This is a great opportunity for these kids to learn how to carry themselves on the golf course and off. And that's really what our main mission is. And we also have some great golfers coming out of the program. We've got some kids that are qualifying for the state tournaments and their high school teams now. And we're hoping that we'll have maybe 1 or 2 kids that will be eligible to apply for the First Tee Open out at Pebble Beach, which just took place a couple weeks ago, which is a Champions Tour event. So, I'm so excited about our chapter. We've got so much going on with our girls golf program is on fire. 5 years ago, girls only made up 27% of our participants. Now it's 40%. We have an L's for Autism program. We have our PGA Junior League team. We have our STEM Links camp in the summer. I mean, we have so many different ways that kids can get involved in our program. So, and we're expanding. Now it looks like this time next year, we're going to have some programming in Oconee County and down in Greenwood. So we're just really excited about the future of our chapter, and definitely events like this weekend, the Links at Fluor Field, help us raise the funds to be able to expand and impact more lives.
All right, let's tell folks a little bit about that event, because last year you guys did something similar, and it was one of the most entertaining things I've ever done. You guys kind of set up a mini golf course around Fluor Field. I mean, I'm hitting chip shots. By the way, Mike, dead center trip shots off the top of the monster. It was an unbelievable experience, and you guys have kind of expanded that this year. and changed it up. Talk to us a little bit about what that experience is going to look like this year.
Yeah, so for those people that came out last year, we had 6 different hitting stations all over the stadium. And like you said, one was up on top of the Green Monster. This year, we're doing it a little bit different. It's more of that Top Golf experience where you have a tee line and you purchase an hour worth of time to hit golf balls. So you can hit as many golf balls as you want. Last year it was you hit 3 golf balls at each one of the stations, added up to 18 holes. Now this, you can get 3 of your buddies. It's $100 for the hour for the foursome. So it's $25 a person when you have a foursome in the bay. We got food and drinks. We've got a live band Saturday night, Haints and Saints, live, local cover bands that's going to be coming out from 6 to 9 on Saturday. We're giving away a $2,500 diamond pendant necklace from Diamonds Direct Saturday night. We're doing a hole-in-one challenge shot at 7:00 that you have to qualify for throughout Friday and Saturday. So listeners should come out, get your bay time, try to get in the hole-in-one challenge, which I think you remember from last year. You
are correct, Mike. I did not win. Yep. Thank you very much for reminding me.
I think you were pretty close. I think you might have gotten pretty close to his toe. But our Golfzilla is our big inflatable. So that's about a 50-yard shot or 150-yard shot. If you hit Golfzilla, then you qualify for the hole-in-one challenge at 7:00 Saturday night. So that'll be cool with Kia Benson from Spartanburg. We've got our family fun zone. So the best time to come out to our family fun zone, which is going to be happening Friday and Saturday, but the best time is 3:30 to 5:30 on Saturday. We'll have face painters, balloon people making balloon animals for the kids. So it's a family-friendly event. It's Fall for Greenville weekend, so it's going to be packed. 100,000 people downtown or whatever it is. So just wander your way down after you enjoy some food and some drinks at Fall for Greenville. It's just another 2 blocks down to Floor Field. It's free to get in. We just have a suggested donation of $5 to get in, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. But it helps us expand our programs. And we're just going to have a great time. You take a bay for an hour, hit some golf balls. We got the Glow Golf again coming back Friday and Saturday night, which is almost sold out. So, listeners, get on our website, firstteeupstate.org/the links. Or you can go on to our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn pages. We have all the links there too. So, we're really looking forward to it.
Michael Pius, the executive director of the First Tee of the Upstate. The links at Floor Field is Friday and Saturday. You're going to get an hour to just absolutely go bananas, knocking balls around at Floor Field. They did it last year, a little bit different format. It was one of the coolest golf experiences I've ever had, and I have no doubt this weekend is going to be any different. Michael, my man, good luck. I know it's going to be awesome. If people are interested, one more time, tell them where they can hit you guys up to go ahead and lock that bay in.
Yeah, firstteeupstate.org/the links. That's the best spot to go, and you can click on the reserve your bay. You'll see the menu of different options. It's for an hour. You can always increase that day of if we have more spots the hour after. Oh, also, I forgot about our putt-putt experience we're adding to. So after the hour, we'll have an 18-hole putt-putt course through the concourse, and then the last 2 holes, 17 and 18, are on top of the Green Monster, which is going to be really cool. So makes for a great photo.
That is fantastic. firstteeupstate.org/the links is the address. You can go there, grab your bay, grab your tickets. It is going to be an awesome experience. Mike, my man, it's great to have you back on, buddy. We'll do it again real soon, pal.
Thanks, Rob. Hope to see you out there.
You know it. You know it. That is Michael Pius. I'm actually going to try to get out there on Saturday and knock a couple of golf balls around. And golf's great. Wildly frustrating game. Also a game that will, as Mike pointed out, really kind of teach you a lot of good life lessons, and they're trying to do that with kids. And on top of that, to me, it's just access as well, right? Like I've told you guys many times that growing up, as Alonzo loves to point out, I did live on a golf course. But you know what I could not do?
Yeah, you're acting like that laugh was fake.
You know what I could not do? Afford to play it as a kid, right? Like pops might take me out for a round, but I couldn't just walk down to the range and jump on board. First Tee of the Upstate utilizes the resources and the donations that you guys give to open that lane of access up to kids who might not otherwise have it. And it is fantastic of them to do it. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, South Carolina's off this weekend. The Gamecocks got an off day. Then they come back, and it is a very interesting back half of the schedule. I want to take a look at it after that Kentucky win and ask if you guys have more, less, or the same amount of optimism that you had before the win over Kentucky. I told you that last week. I like that game. I picked Kentucky outright to win in our Boo Box Bet segment last week, and it worked out for me. Now that you've seen that win, but knowing we have the Orange Crush at the end of the season, are you more or less or the same amount of optimistic as you were that Shane Beamer's crew may have just turned a corner? We'll talk about that next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Warehouse.
We're right back, stream.
Panthers interim head coach Steve Wilkes has been putting the team through their weekly practice sessions where they visit the defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams coming up on Sunday. Wilkes was named the interim head coach on Monday and promoted Al Holcomb to defensive coordinator. That same combination got just one season with the Arizona Cardinals 4 years ago. Wilkes says despite their 1-4 record that he inherits, there's enough good pieces here to make Carolina competitive.
I feel like we have the talent in the locker room. We have the men that want to get it done. Our work ethic has been consistent from a standpoint of how we go about each and every day for us practicing. We just got to go out in the game and execute and finish.
Wilkes is a Charlotte native. He played at Appalachian State, began his coaching career at Johnson C. Smith University in 1995, the same year that the Panthers began. As the fans here are hungry for a winner, and he's looking to deliver that to his hometown team.
Number one, I want to make sure that our fans.
I need to watch that presser. I've got it saved on the computer.
Appreciate them.
He's had a couple.
We
Yeah.
understand, too, that
I watched yesterday's this morning.
So, yes, I'm hoping that when we come back home, we see a sea of blue. But most important right here, we as
By the way, there's no guarantee that Baker's out Sunday.
Yeah, they said he's out 2 to 4, didn't they?
No. Watch the presser.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we were kidding, but maybe we weren't wrong. Baker kicked the door open.
Steve Wilkes had said before that he was waiting till he got the reports and everything. Said he's talked to Baker, and Baker's thinking about. He says if Baker says he can go because he's worked with Baker before. He worked with Baker in Cleveland. He's a tough guy, and if he thinks he can do it, he can do it. But he also, another question was asked about what if he doesn't practice, and he said if he doesn't practice, he probably won't play.
Yeah.
So we'll know. He also changed up how they do practice. They
Heard that.
usually don't hit on Wednesdays, but they did.
Put the pads on, boys. Borderlands.
Borderlands Comics and Games, 1434 Lawrence Road. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook.
Borderlands.
But come on, they aren't that bad. Especially thanks to Mo Monday, where you can enjoy an awesome burrito, chips, salsa, and drinks for
Trey, I think you're probably a little bit past the first tee of the upstate age limit. I will tell you that it's never too late to take up golf and make the best, worst decision you've ever made in your life. It is an incredible game, and nothing will frustrate you quite as much as it. I do not have a good reason to tell anybody that golf is fun, and yet I play it all the time.
To help you treat ED, get ED treatment for as low as $3 per use and save up to $1,000 per month with generic for Viagra versus the brand name at forhims.com/radio. If prescribed, your medication will be shipped to your door in discreet packaging. Do it all online. No in-person appointments. Get hard results with Hims or your money back. Go to forhims.com/radio to get your first visit free. That's forhims.com/radio to get started free. forhims.com/radio.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric, we offer same-day scheduling to meet your needs. Call Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric today, or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com.
More than the scores. Real sports.
All right, the Rob Brown Show's back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with you. Be a part of the show, 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. That's 844 fan phone. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307 71307. And hit us up on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. Don't forget, the Views from Mint Street podcast is available to you as well. If you are a Carolina Panthers fan, Lonzo and I have had a busy freaking week with that one. And every episode is up and available for you now. You can find it wherever major podcasts are found, on Google Play, on Apple iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify. Wherever you get your podcast, subscribe to and download the Views from Mint Street podcast. All right. Taking a look at where South Carolina stands right now after their 10-point win over the Wildcats of Kentucky, and Shane Beamer dancing in the locker room, which, yes, I did love. I did think was amazing. And I would obviously like to say hello to Shane Beamer, since he very clearly listens to the show. As Lonzo on Friday suggested, that if South Carolina gets the win, Shane Beamer ought throw on the fancy sunglasses and hit the Dougie in the locker room. And he did exactly that, right? You lose 48-7 to Georgia. You lose 44-30 to Arkansas. You get the win you should have won over a decent Georgia State team. You get the beatdown you should have gotten over a bad Charlotte team. You get the beatdown you should have gotten over SC State. And then we said, sitting there at 3-2, we said, you got to go grab, obviously, 3 more wins. And there were a few of them that I thought were must-win games. I thought that Mizzou is a must-win game at home against South Carolina. Against Mizzou, at home in the Cola. I thought that Vanderbilt on the road at Vandy is a must-win game. Then there were a couple of could-win games. The could-win games, I think at Florida is a could-win game. And, I probably would have said preseason that Texas A&M was a loss, right? But you look at a Texas A&M team now, a Texas A&M team that barely beat Arkansas, a Texas A&M team that lost to Appalachian State, a Texas A&M team that lost to LSU coming off of their L to FSU, a Texas A&M team that had to scrape by against a Miami team that lost to Middle Tennessee State. This A&M team is still good. I don't want anybody to hit the throttle on this, right? They're still a decent team. The loss to Appalachian State, 17-14 at home, was embarrassing. But they came back. They beat Miami. They came back. They beat Arkansas. They didn't get drummed by Mississippi State, but that's a top 15 team now. But they gave Alabama at Alabama all that Bama wanted. Granted, Jalen Milroe, backup quarterback for Alabama, was in that game. And as by we, I mean I have said, you lose a Heisman Trophy or a first-round quarterback, your team's worse. That's just a fact. But they did give Alabama all they wanted. Now, both A&M and the Gamecocks have a week off before they get hooked up on October 22nd when the Aggies come a-calling to USC. Lonzo, after the Kentucky win, because you last week picked Kentucky to cover. After that win,
just because I went against my heart, because I don't want to face a stupid boo box again. That's why.
Are you, after that win, are you at all more optimistic in South Carolina's ability? They only need 2 more to hit that bowl eligibility mark. So with A&M, Mizzou, Vandy, and Florida, the next 4, which I truly believe are all 4 winnable games. Not that they will win all 4 games, but are all 4 winnable games. Is there a chance, Lonzo, that this team can get to the 7-win mark that preseason I said was possible, though not probable. Can they get there?
There's absolutely a chance. I'm kind of glad that South Carolina has this week off, though, because that game against Kentucky, even though it was low key, it wasn't for them. That was an emotional game.
Sure.
As we speculated, they were coming in knowing what was said by the Kentucky coach. They played like it, and afterwards they showed what they felt about it, which is awesome. You come off an emotional game the next week, a lot of times you have a letdown. So the fact that there's a bye in there, that helps. And did you say that Texas A&M also has a bye?
Texas A&M's on the bye this week as well.
So
you're both coming in healthy.
But the same thing with Texas A&M, because they're coming off of almost beating Alabama,
Yep.
right?
Very emotional game for them as well. You are correct.
So one's coming off,
and their coaches had drama preseason too. Remember?
Yeah. So both teams are coming off of emotional games. One won, one did not. So I think it makes it a lot more even. So we don't have to worry about the emotion. They're just coming in to play football a week from now. So this would be the most concerning game out of the 4 that you mentioned.
Sure.
But if you win this, the rest should be almost a given.
If you can knock off the Aggies at home, and again, you got this week off. You got plenty of time to plan, plenty of time to script, plenty of time to prep. You knock off the Aggies at home, Mizzou comes to town the next week. Here's what I'm questioning. A&M at South Carolina, Lonzo, is October 22nd. That's a big one. Night game. If with a capital I and a capital F, the Gamecocks can win that game at home over Jimbo and his Aggies, over the cultist. That Missouri game on the 29th, that stadium is going to be lit, dude. It is going to be hype. This A&M game is mucho importante, right? It puts you one game closer to bowl eligibility, right? You win this one, then you got Mizzou, Vandy, and Florida, and you only need to take one of those 3, and you're bowl eligible. You take 2 of those 3, you're sitting on 7. And there's in fact, one texter has already texted in to the show saying that Gamecock fans are getting a little cocky after knocking off a team that was missing 3 NFL draft picks. And I actually agree with that. But you still went into Big Blue's house.
Well, Texter, I'm gonna do what you want me to do, and I'm gonna say when Clemson plays next, because obviously this is a Clemson fan. There better not be any injuries on the other side. When they win this week against Florida State, if there are injuries on Florida State, then it's not really a victory, because there are injuries on that team. And according to your criteria, it's not a real victory if you beat a team that has injuries. So, I mean, you made the rules. I'm just going with it.
I don't necessarily want to go into why not having an NFL first-round draft pick is not the same as losing your.
By the way, speculated number 1
corner.
draft pick. We've seen people supposedly going to be a number 1 draft pick and not get picked in the first round. We've seen that. So that's all speculation. So you can speculate all you want, but that's not a guarantee.
Will Levis is an exceptional quarterback, and that's that. I'm just going to leave it right there. Not having Will Levis on the field makes your team worse. I'm not debating that.
You're right, but injuries are a part of the game. So when Clemson plays Florida State, if and when they win, because they're going to win, if there's an injury on the Florida State team or the rest of the way for a Clemson team, none of those victories really matter that much, because you didn't play the full team and that other team has injuries. So,
I mean, if FSU had a first-round draft pick at quarterback and he wasn't there, yes, I would agree
criteria has been set. I mean, so I'm going to go with the criteria that's been set by the texter.
All right.
I don't know why you're offended by it, but
I'm not offended by him. I'm offended by you.
Why? Because that's the mindset. That's the rules have been made. I'm just following the rules that the texter made.
Who is Trey Benson?
I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Who is Will Levis?
I don't know either.
Yes, you do.
No,
yes,
I don't.
Do.
You know why? Because I'm just an NFL guy.
They got into that. Diesel got into that crap again yesterday. And then he got mad that I tweeted and called him out on it. I was like, I'm sorry that you don't have the ability to be both an NFL and college football fan. Like, you can only be a fan of one, but I don't have that limitation on my life. I'm really, really good at talking about both.
See, I'm trying to be careful here because I'm going to be targeted quite a bit tonight. But
that's right, you are.
But I am I'm prepped and ready to go.
Fair enough.
And I'm going to be really tired, so I'm not going to care that much, which may be bad for me.
Also true. Look. Texter says, Lonzo, come on, not even the same thing. You let your emotions get too much into it. And I thought you were an Ohio State fan, but of course, with all the Gamecock fans, they have a fallback squad to pull for.
Hey,
LOL.
Rob.
That's a texter, not me. Don't come at me. Come at him.
Rob, do I look emotional? I mean, I would look at the text and go, the text is being emotional.
No,
if you can read emotion into a text, that texter is spitting mad.
I think the texter is very rational here.
And
very rational.
Wrong. And you can be
No,
rational and wrong. Oh, he's absolutely wrong.
Not wrong.
According to the criteria, if there's an injury on the other side, then that team wasn't as good. So your team can't count that as a good victory. So there we go.
If Bo Collins goes down, Clemson's worse.
Listen, I've won. Okay. I've won. There's, I mean, accept the L and move on.
Listen to Lonzo.
Accept the L and move on.
Feeling himself a little bit today, ladies and gentlemen. I like it.
I am confident in that take more so than anything I've said today. I have shut that texter down. They can't, I mean, no matter what they say, no matter what they come back with, they're wrong if they're going to continue with the criteria that they put forth, the plan that they put, the rules that they made, and I'm just following their rules. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah,
texter. Maybe if your rules weren't flawed, it's just thank you for listening though. Appreciate it. Continue to text 71307.
Start your text with fam. We'll read them on the air. All right. So the question that initially started this was, do you believe that the Gamecocks could end up with a 7-win season now? Because I do. I believed they could preseason. I walked back off of that a little bit not after the Georgia game, but after the Arkansas game. But listen, I think the beginning to the season for South Carolina went exactly the way that we all projected it to, or at least we all being me projected it to, right? I think it went exactly the way we projected it to. I absolutely thought win over Georgia State, lose to a top 15 Arkansas team, lose big to Georgia, beat Charlotte, beat SC State. The only question mark game was Kentucky. And they answered the question mark, right? They turned the question mark into an exclamation point. They have done exactly what we thought they would, or at least what I thought they would. This South Carolina season thus far has followed the script exactly the way it should have. You have won every game you should have won. You have lost every game you should have lost. And you have taken the one maybe game. At Kentucky was the very first maybe game. The very first game that you went, this could maybe go either way. You've won all the ones you were supposed to win. You've lost all the ones you were supposed to lose. And you've now gone 1-0 in the maybe games. The good news is that the next 4 are all maybe games. Texas A&M's a maybe game. Missouri, you should get a win. Frankly, you should have beat Missouri last year, okay? Should have beat Mizzou last year. That's a maybe game. South Carolina at Vanderbilt, I would say that's a must-win game, right? You can't lose that game. You got to go to Vandy, and you got to get a dub. And then I think it's fair to say, despite the fact that they are not where we thought that they were, that Florida's a maybe game. The Swamp's a tough place to play, and I'm going to go ahead and call a shot that game will be either a late afternoon, into the night, or night game. It's TBA right now. South Carolina has followed the script exactly. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do, right? Following the script. Win the ones you should, lose the ones you shouldn't, and win at least half of the maybe games. Following the script is what sets you up to take the next step. Because next year, what you're hoping is that Arkansas goes from a L preseason to a maybe game. Kentucky goes from a maybe game to a should-win game. Texas A&M goes from a preseason L to a maybe game. Florida becomes a yes. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, ending the year on a sour note, you're going to get smoked by Tennessee and Clemson in back-to-back top 6 games.
But what do you want to do in those games? I mean, pretty much you're not going to win those games, but
Nope.
you want to be competitive. You don't want to get, you don't want to get beat like you did by Georgia. If you can, what is good showing against Tennessee? What is good showing against Clemson? Scoring a couple touchdowns?
Not 30-0.
Right.
Not 30-0. Not 48-7 with a garbage time touchdown. Right? Now, again, Georgia's different. Georgia is better than Clemson. Georgia's better than Tennessee. I think Tennessee and Clemson are pretty close to being equal teams. Georgia's just a tier above them. You have got to follow the script and occasionally take that next step. They have followed the script and took a slight step forward when they beat Kentucky. That's all you can do.
By the way, we're going to find out if Georgia's better than Tennessee because they play Tennessee November 5th.
Correct. And the Tennessee-South Carolina game is 2 weeks after that. I do not know if I don't know if Tennessee's schedule shapes up to having a bye before they play South Carolina. Let's see.
Could Tennessee?
Nope, they got Missouri in the middle.
Could Tennessee come in undefeated, having beaten Georgia?
No.
You don't think
They can't beat
Tennessee
Georgia.
can beat Georgia?
No.
Okay.
They are exceptional offensively. They are fast. They are Hendon Hooker is like really good. But the odds that Kentucky's undefeated, or excuse me, that Tennessee's undefeated after playing Georgia.
I don't know. Georgia struggled with Kent State. Only 39-22. That's a struggle.
Yeah.
Barely beat Missouri. I'm just saying.
That one was a shock. I'm
just saying Georgia could have a bad game. That's all I'm saying. They could absolutely have a bad game.
It would take Tennessee's best and Georgia's worst game for that to be an upset.
I'm not even sure it has to be their worst game. If they're mid, they might be in trouble.
We'll see.
I'm sure that'll be on Boo Box Bets. By then, I won't have to worry about it though.
Why?
Because I will have lost enough to not have to worry about punishment.
All right, let's take a break. Got a couple more thoughts I want to get into. Got to talk some Braves baseball. That NLDS is now 1-1. So is the DS between the Dodgers and the Fathers. We'll talk a little baseball when we come back. Then to open up the 11 o'clock hour, this Dan Snyder story is getting more and more ridiculous as we go this morning. Does Dan Snyder have dirt that would bring down the league? There are folks who know him who say he's claiming he does. Jarama. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Diggity, 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 diggity. All right, kids.
Hey, man, don't click on stuff when I'm trying to click on stuff. I apologize if I seem other than myself, but I'm preparing myself for later.
What's later, Lonzo?
Getting to watch season finale of She-Hulk.
There it is.
Don't spoil. Of course, I'm not talking to you
I
about
know.
don't spoil.
Traveling, volunteering, spending time with family. What's your retirement look like? With income planning from Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor can help you grow and protect your wealth.
Let's do NFL bets.
Financial picture can help you create a flexible strategy that considers things like market conditions and healthcare expenses, so you can stop worrying about the future and enjoy whatever comes next. Visit fidelity.com/income planning. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services member NYSE SIPC. What's your retirement look like? With Fidelity
Oh, that sounds
Income Planning, a
familiar.
dedicated advisor can help you create a flexible income strategy to grow and protect your wealth, so you can stop worrying about the future and enjoy whatever comes next. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services member NYSE SIPC.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
I have no music. Just talk.
Just talk, he says. There's no music, he says. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for the tread on my background.
I panicked. I
Yeah,
didn't know
it's-
what to say, so I
it's-
just said the last thing you said.
It's all right. I was editing. I didn't have the music in there, but I
I
appreciate.
don't know what you're talking about. It's called a cold open. It's Saturday Night Lifestyle. I was supposed to deliver a monologue there. It's on me.
Don't feel bad now. You know what you did. It's all right. It's all right.
The Rob Brown Show, wrapping up hour number 2. Fan phones open, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Texter says on the text line, I have no idea who's better. You can make cases for Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Tennessee, or USC, but by Vegas odds, Ohio State is the best. So real quick, we talked a little bit about that on Monday when this came out. Vegas odds do not mean Ohio State's the best team, right? Vegas odd means they're most likely to win a title. Analogy. Who's more likely to win in a fist fight between me and Diesel? Diesel, right? Diesel would smoke me. You know that. I know that. It is what it is. But if Diesel had to fight Deontay Wilder and Rob had to fight Stoneman in order to move on, who is Vegas's pick to be the better odds to likely move on?
You keep bringing Stoneman up like it's an easy win. You don't know that.
No, he's a hooligan.
Dude is scrappy.
He's
and
a hooligan.
He's not fighting fair.
No, he wouldn't fight fair.
Your shins are hurt.
Let's put us in a boxing match then. Let's level that out a little bit.
He'll come in here and go, okay.
The point is, Vegas odds do not just lean on who would win if you put them head to head when you're talking about futures. They are taking into consideration strength of schedule, right? Because it's not just that Georgia or Ohio State is better. Keep in mind, Georgia also has to run through a more difficult back half of the schedule, and we'll have Alabama standing in an SEC championship game, right? Georgia has to win out in the SEC to give themselves a chance to still make it in should they lose to Bama at the end of the year. That is much more difficult than what stands between us and the playoffs for the Buckeyes, who have Penn State and Michigan left and really nobody else, right? So the Vegas odds are not saying that Ohio State, and this is why I talk about Vegas odds. Vegas odds are important when you're making predictions. They absolutely are. And I'm talking when you are making picks straight up. I'm talking about when you look at futures. But the Vegas odds with Ohio State being favorited do not mean that Ohio State is the best football team right now. The Vegas odds mean Ohio State is one of the best teams and has the easiest path between here and the playoffs. That's what that means. So just as a heads up there for you. Also on the text line, let's see what else we got on the text line right now. To the texter who said Lonzo's an Ohio State fan, by the rules of the station, you are allowed a high-ranking team like OSU to pull for and a group of 5 caliber team, and that's all.
Rules of the station. That's the funny part. As if there's someone here who can make rules for anybody else. There is, but he's not in this room anytime unless he walks in here from down the hall.
Texture says South Carolina fans' fallback team is the entire rest of the SEC. I'll tell you this. I have broadcasted around a good chunk of the SEC, right? Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I broadcasted in and around all of them. Of all of the SEC fan bases that I broadcasted to and around, South Carolina is the least SEC of all of them, right? Bama fans do it all the time. Auburn fans do it all the time. Ole Miss and Mississippi State fans do it more than anybody else, right? Because neither one of them can ever get over the hump and take it to the next level. Those guys do it all the time. LSU fans do it to some degree. But I'm not saying South Carolina fans don't do it. I'm just saying in my time being around them, they're the least obnoxious SEC fans I've been around so far. All right? They just are. They just are. What else we got on the text line? Texter says Kentucky was not as good as advertised. Gamecocks a little better than advertised. Both teams a solid top 35. Meh. That's how they ended that text.
You know what? They're probably right.
I got no issue with that.
Yeah, they're probably right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you expected South Carolina to come in and compete for the East,
No,
then your fandom is way, way, way in the way of reality.
Yes. What did we say at the beginning of the year when we were talking about expectations for this team?
Want to do better and look better than last year.
Yeah. Give me 6. Give me a bowl game. Give me a bowl win. And that's pretty much it, right?
Well, that's what they did last year. I want one game better. And if they get 7, they get one game better, right?
I thought 7 would be a good step. 7 would be a real good step. And by the way,
beat a team, beat a team you're not supposed to. They weren't supposed to beat Kentucky according to the rankings.
Again, they beat a good Kentucky team.
Don't fall back on it because when it comes down to it's W's and L's. I mean, while you're in the season, you can come up with the excuses, reasons why, but in the end, one team won, one team lost.
Sure did.
Unless there's a tie and it's half a win and half a loss.
Nope. I don't want to do that anymore. I hate that. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, this Dan Snyder story. If you have not seen it yet, there is a report going around right now that Dan Snyder is effectively threatening the entire rest of the National Football League. If he gets kicked, he will bring the whole tent down on top of himself. Whew. It's juicy. We'll hit that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. The latest on disgraced Washington owner Dan Snyder comes from ESPN. A new report today says Snyder is kind of proud of the dirt he has collected on his fellow owners and Roger Goodell, and the threat of releasing that dirt is why the league cannot kick Snyder out for all of his problems. In the meantime, Snyder's team featured on Thursday Night Football. His Commanders looking for their second win of the season In Chicago, wins number 1 for the Braves and Padres last night. Atlanta blanked Philly 3-0. Then San Diego got a 5-3 W at Dodger Stadium. So those NL Division Series are now 1-1. The AL is back on the field today. Game 2 for the Astros and Mariners, the Yankees and Guardians. Rain likely an issue in New York. Zion Williamson with 11 points in 11 minutes. Then an early exit from last night's preseason loss to the Heat. Zion has some left ankle soreness and is day to day with the regular season beginning next week. And the Colorado Avalanche hung their Stanley Cup banner, then began their new season with a 5-2 win over Chicago. I'm Andrew Bowden.
Hey, it's DA. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Ask Alexa to play CBS Sports Radio.
And now, CBS Sports Radio.
Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville, 97.1 FM, 850 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WNBC HD3. Just one more time. And on your computer at The Fan.
FanUpstate.com.
When you're an innovative business.
Yes, Josh, I really liked it. It was very good.
What will you do? Make something better? Or create
And
something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible.
yeah, I love the transition between black and white to color. I loved all the characters in it. I thought it was really, really good. And it was B movie in a way that it was made to be. And I thought they played everything really well. Werewolf by Night, which is a Disney one-off of it's got Man-Thing in it, and it's Monster Hunters. It's pretty good. It starts off in black and white, and at the end it changes a little. But last, I think, like 58 minutes or something like that. Don't tell me you lost all my work.
No.
Okay, all right. So,
What I was going to tell you is that we need to preserve your work because I'm not confident in that computer. I may have to replace it for you. I don't have anything to replace it with right now, but I'm going to try and get something as fast as I can. But it's not. It's becoming less reliable and more irritating to me as a device. So
Okay.
A device.
all I have to do is copy that one folder that
okay.
that I'm worried about,
Yeah,
and
understand.
I can just copy that to Google Drive.
Just- yeah, that's what I would recommend doing.
But if you have nothing to replace it, it ain't like you're going to do anything
I
with
know
it right
the
now. So
problem that I'm
I got to
having-
continue to work on it, right?
well,
with it.
If you can, the problem that I'm having right now is that even though it's plugged in and it recognizes that it's plugged in, it's not charging the battery.
You got to jiggle it. I noticed that before. If you jiggle it, it will start working.
Well, it's not supposed to do that.
No, I know.
So-
I know.
I'm not arguing it's supposed to.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
I was getting ready to unplug it and I moved it slightly and it started charging. So
It's something to take my mind off the fact that
I
my
completely
last-
understand.
my
I have
last
played
hour
games like this.
sucked.
last hour didn't suck. He does. I don't think he knows what suck is.
My last hour sucked.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
So I have to like detox my brain.
So
Why did the last hour suck?
because I won, and you know, and I
No,
get
no,
that. I
Tom
get
does
that.
Thing where he just decides I win.
Right.
He's like that kid from Big Daddy. He's like, "What game are we playing? I win." He's
I-
like,
I would just say,
47!
It looks like you had a bad hour because I won, and you know what? This hour, you win. You win this hour. You could do that whole thing, and you're trying to make something out to be something it wasn't. It wasn't a bad hour. I've been on bad hours before, sir, and that was not one.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
It was a point of
I said good day,
emphasis.
sir.
It was a point of emphasis. Be gentle.
You jiggle it more than 3 times.
All right, suck it up, Rob Brown. It ain't like you've got an entire day of work to do like I do. It ain't like you've got to suffer till 7 o'clock. It's suffering because I'm old.
I'm not saying it's
I'm
not.
old and I shouldn't, and it has nothing to do with who I'm working with. It's the length of work day.
I'm not arguing it doesn't suck.
That part, Trey, is my laptop is my workstation.
I was going to say, they moved us to where our computers are only our laptops now. Like, we have little docks that we plug in and it connects to the monitors. But if your laptop bites it, you're SOL.
Matt World in the first break. If you would like me to come around and massage your shoulders as you're talking in this first, I mean, I could do that. It's going to be a really tight grip, though.
Putting my headphones on now. The third, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, with you. Be a part of the radio broadcast. 844-FAN phone. 844-FANFONE. 844-326-3663. Can also text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Have you been following this Dan Snyder chaos of the last couple of hours? So there's a report out that Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, that Dan Snyder feels a little bit cornered right now. That Dan Snyder feels like like the sharks are circling, right? The walls are closing in. There's a story up by ESPN's Don Van Natta Jr., Seth Wickersham, and Tisha Thompson, where it says that Dan Snyder feels like the walls are closing in on him a little bit. And in the Game of Thrones that is NFL ownership, Dan Snyder feels like he's playing, I'm using their words, not mine, a zero-sum game, right? That is to say, only one can be left. Only one can sit upon the Iron Throne. Only one can be the Highlander, right? Well, Dan Snyder, according to this report, has told a close associate that he has gathered enough secrets to, quote, blow up, end quote, several NFL owners, the league office, and Roger Goodell. He has said privately, according to the report, they can't bleep with me, end quote, with the F-bomb in the middle. The report says that multiple senior team executives and confidants have heard Dan Snyder say they can't bleep with me as the Van Circle around the NFL and what is believed to be Roger Goodell's quest to remove Dan Snyder from ownership. Another associate, according to this report, told at least one of the authors that, quote, the NFL is a mafia. All the owners hate each other. Jerry, have a seat. We need to talk, Jerry. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You see, Jerry, I got what we here in the underworld call dirt. And it sure would be a shame if some of this dirt got all over you and your sparkling reputation. You know what I'm saying? So, Jerry, what do you say the next time Roger calls a meeting of the mafioso and tries to get me vanished from the family? What do you say, Jerry, that you maybe tell him calm down? Because I sure would hate it if this folder of information I got on you was to find its way into the hand of some young intrepid reporter. Needs more mandolin.
It does. But you need more mob in your voice. So I mean, there's a
Jerry.
There we go. There we go. So you're not feeling well. You don't want to.
I was going mob.
You don't want to project.
I was going boss though.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Like that street level. That's
You're
thug,
right. You're right. The boss doesn't have to talk loud.
No.
I got you. I
No.
got you.
No. And direct contrarianism to me every day on this show.
I think this is the right kind of mob. The right kind of
This is
mob
boss
mood.
music. Yeah, this is boss music.
For NFL mob at least.
Yeah, this is boss music. And we're talking about bosses here.
I don't have the Carmine mix ready yet.
Jerry, listen. Wouldn't it be a shame if this folder just found its way to the New York Times? So maybe, just maybe, Jerry, maybe you speak up for me. Do we have a deal? So the report goes.
So do you doubt the report though? Do you doubt that he has dirt on everybody?
No, Dan Snyder's a psychopath. I absolutely believe.
Do you have to be a psychopath to keep, say you're ill-treated by a fellow employee or another business? It's not wrong to keep track of some things that have happened or that you know is going on in case you need that information to protect yourself. I get you don't like Dan Snyder.
No,
but
I cannot stand
yeah, I get that. I get that. But if you consider someone to be a dirtbag and the lowest form of human on earth,
Dan Snyder.
Of course they're going to keep dirt on everybody else.
100%.
Because if you're that guy, you know you're that guy. You know everyone else thinks you're that guy, but you also know that there are other people that maybe have the sparkling reputation, as you said a few moments ago, who are just as bad as you are. And if you got that dirt, you keep that job.
It's not so much the fact that Dan Snyder has dirt. If he does.
So you're doubting that he has stuff.
No. I'm saying that I lean toward, I am of the belief that I would be completely and entirely unsurprised. I do not have a reason to believe definitively because these people have a lot of anecdotes, right? They got a lot of people who know Dan Snyder who are claiming that this is the case. But we also know that Dan Snyder is widely disliked in the NFL. Roger Goodell doesn't like him, according to reports. Most of the owners don't like him, according to reports. And so it would be unsurprising either direction. I would be unsurprised if there were a group of NFL folks that were like, if we put enough garbage into the media about Dan Snyder, maybe it will eventually force Roger Goodell and the NFL to kick him out, right? But I would absolutely also believe the report that not only does Dan Snyder have dirt on the rest of the owners, but that Dan Snyder at one point instructed his own law firm, his own representation, to hire private investigators to go get that dirt on the other NFL owners. It's not just that he has it, right? It's not like he and Jerry were sitting down at a wine dinner and Jerry said something that would complicate his relationship with the family. And then Dan was like, and we'll write that one down and fold this old black book and just keep it in the back pocket, right? It's that Dan sent out PIs to go do the research, to dig up this dirt, to go do the research, to figure out that this is the case. And in this report, let me read you this quick little couple of sentences. According to more than 30 owners, league and team executives, lawyers, and current and former Commanders employees interviewed by ESPN, the fear of reprisal that Snyder has instilled in his franchise, poisoning it on the field and off, has expanded to some of his fellow owners. Multiple owners and league and team sources say they've been told that Snyder instructed his law firms to hire private investigators and look into other owners and Roger Goodell. Now, this is kind of interesting, Zoe, because on one hand, I don't stand for any NFL owners. I don't stand for any billionaires. I got no reason to be a fan of a billionaire, just none at all. So billionaires eating each other is kind of hilarious to me. It's kind of hysterical to me.
I don't have disdain for capitalism. I'm okay. If you made that money, good for you. It's your money. I also wonder if this isn't just a little bit of a power play. Just because you send out detectives doesn't mean they found anything. But if you're afraid they found something, that means you have dirt to hide.
I don't know. And this is why I'm saying, like, there is also the thought that because the only person saying that he has the dirt to blow up the league is Dan Snyder, right? Everybody else is saying, yeah, he sent out PIs to do the investigation to find dirt. But the only person saying that he has dirt is him. He's the only one saying he has.
All right. I want to go back to the John Gruden situation. They wanted John Gruden gone. They released all those emails about John Gruden. What he said was not right. But
who is they?
The NFL.
The NFL wanted John Gruden.
This is my point, because we didn't see any of the other emails, and that was part of, I think his lawsuit's probably still ongoing about the fact that they released his emails and not anybody else's. I'm pointing this out to say if the NFL wants Dan Snyder gone, they will make him gone, like they did with John Gruden, which makes it almost sound like maybe what Snyder's saying is true, because if not, he would already be gone. The NFL would have found a way to get rid of him. Maybe they are afraid that he has dirt on them and he's going to release.
So the text line right now is just very random.
CSI
including
Greenville.
The texter that says, I hope this hour is better than the first two. Those were marginally bad.
Gee, I wonder who sent that.
It wasn't him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's a Stathakis caliber text, pardon me. That's a Stathakis caliber tweet, but it was not from him. Shockingly. That was my first assumption too. Another texter said, happy no bra day, Rob. No, leave it on there.
No, I'm not. That's not how the game works.
I didn't say anything about it. I just read a text.
Yeah, you did. So now it's off of Twitter. I mean, all you guys, you think
no, I hate this game because it means I can't reference things like National No Bra Day outside of the last 4 minutes of the show.
Well, it's your game. It's not mine. I'm just playing along.
Well, then I just changed the rules.
You could do that, but I mean,
I just did. Leave it on.
Well, I've already crossed it off.
So a team spokesperson called these reports, quote, simply ridiculous and utterly false, end quote. He said that Snyder never said that the league can't bleep with him, or that the, quote, NFL is a mafia, end quote, or that, quote, all owners hate each other, end quote. Yeah, I read through this report. This report dropped after we came on the air. And so I've done like a quick scan over of the whole thing. There was one interesting part where those who put the story together said, quote, several owners say that they see the threats about damaging dossiers as a desperate tactic intended to scare owners from voting to remove Snyder. Says a veteran owner who says he's aware Snyder has gathered dirt on some owners, quote, he's backed into a corner. He's behaving like a mad dog that's been cornered, end quote. Do I believe that there are some NFL owners that have done some things that we would consider dirt against their legacy? Hell yes, I do. Hell yeah, I believe that. Are you kidding me? Absolutely, I believe that. Do I believe that it is most of the owners? No, not really, right? I'm sure there are a few. I think if you grabbed any 32 random people, somebody in there has got an embarrassing skeleton in the closet that would tarnish them a little bit within that group, right? So yes, I absolutely believe there is likely an owner or two or seven in the NFL that has some dirt that other NFL ownership would know about, but they all have a vested interest in defending each other, right? Because if one was to fall, then you have another Dan Snyder situation where if they do have that information, they could go, fine, you're taking me down, but I'm taking you down with me. On the flip side, Dan Snyder absolutely strikes me as a narcissistic sociopath. You ever lived with a narcissist? I have.
I've worked with some.
Yeah. You ever worked with a narcissist? I dated a narcissist. All right. I've dated like a bona fide narcissist. And the things that they will create in their head in order to distance themselves from the reality that they did something wrong is pretty impressive, right? Pretty impressive. Dan Snyder's a narcissist. I am not a therapist nor a psychologist, nor did I stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I think we've seen enough evidence drop that I feel pretty comfortable. Saying that I said I've dated a narcissist, and my mother said, "Which one are you talking about?" Oh man.
So, according to your mom, it's been multiple narcissists.
According to most people I know. The Dan Snyder,
but not now though.
No, not now.
Yeah, not now.
Dan Snyder is a narcissist, and the lengths that he would go in order to protect himself from looking like the bad guy, I doubt has much of an end to it, because unlike narcissists that are walking amongst us day to day, Dan Snyder is a narcissist with nearly unlimited resources, right? Would I be surprised to learn that Dan Snyder sent PIs to go investigate other owners? No. Would I be surprised that this is just all a big threat from Dan, right? Because here's the thing, there is a certain number of NFL owners that would all have to agree that Dan needs to get kicked out for him to be forced to sell the franchise, right? And if Dan very well, I'm not saying it is, Dan could be playing the odds here, right? Because I think he's got to have, 24 of the owners have to agree that he's gone. So all he would be banking on theoretically is that there are 8 owners in the league that have done or said something that might put them into the same position of Dan Snyder, who he has to make believe, hey, look, if I go down, I'll take you with me. And 8 owners go, crap, he might actually have that on me. I'm not going to vote him out so that my skeleton doesn't get revealed too.
Well, see, it helps if, in this case, if the dirt he has on them is because it's mutual dirt, something that they participated in together. So all you have to do is have a guy show up and clumsily make it look like he's a PI to make that said owner go, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't and start working on your reason as to why, if you have to have a reason as to why you're not going to vote him out.
Yeah. It's game of footballs is what we got going on here, right?
I wonder, is that I'm just imagining them all around the table taking a vote. I wonder how that works. Is it all virtual with big screens? I know I'm going Marvel here, but these are really rich people. So I
know you don't watch it, but South Park did an episode of this where they satirized the NFL, and Roger Goodell is Goodell Bot 2.0. It's really good. It may very well be applicable in this situation. Look, I don't know which of these realities is true. Here's what I'll say. This report is long. Let me put it this way. Like, if the author of this book was Sun Tzu, I would believe it. That's how long this report is. And there is a lot to it. A lot to it. So I look forward to getting off the air and reading this thing. But in having a lot to it, there's a lot of quotes, right? There's a lot of details. There's a lot of times and places. And, there's I've done my armchair psychology. Like one hint that you can read when somebody is lying is when they over-explain details, right? Like when they give you too many unnecessary details. It's a hint that they're making it up to try to make you believe, like, oh, if I tell him that there was a red rose on the table, I mean, who would make that up? It's like, yeah, somebody that was trying to over-explain the situation. But this, they got times, they got dates, they got quotes, they got locations, right? This is a pretty in-depth thing. Imagine if it was Dan Snyder that took down the league. My goodness. Texter said, Rob, what if it's all an elaborate ruse? Snyder just released the info that he has, Dirt, when he actually has nothing and didn't even attempt to find something. No, that's what makes this story so damn interesting. That's what Alonzo said.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying the entire time. You don't have to actually, if you say you sent out detectives, it doesn't mean you did.
Right.
Or you send out guys, say, hey, man, I'm going to pay you $1,000. Look like you're a detective.
Yeah, just go sit out front of the stadium in a black SUV for like 7 hours. Right. You know what this is interesting to me? I love Game of Thrones, right? Like Game of Thrones' first 6 seasons was my favorite television show of all time. Favorite television show of all time. But I'm also a weirdo. I actually enjoy the game portion of Game of Thrones, right? Like I love the fights, I love the battles, I love I love it all. But the politics of it, Littlefinger was my favorite character from the first 4 seasons because he was so damn good about playing everybody. It was fantastic, right? The reason this story is so intriguing to me is we just came up with like 7 different potential theories, Lonzo. And as far as I'm concerned, any and every one of them could end up being the truth. And it's also possible we get 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road and never find out what the truth was.
I was going to ask you, how long does this play out?
I don't know, because here is the thing. If Dan Snyder is openly telling people the NFL is a mafia, all the owners hate each other, they can't bleep with me, I have dirt on all of them, the NFL absolutely starts putting together their plan to move on from Dan Snyder. But they also have to, I think, spend some time asking, what if this is correct? What if he does have dirt, right? Because as much as they'd be happy to take Dan Snyder out, they're not willing to lose their own billion-dollar cushy jobs in order to do it, right? They'd rather let one narcissistic jackass be in their group than risk any of them losing their position within that group. This is so interesting to me, not because I'm like, oh, maybe they finally got Dan Snyder pinned to the wall and will finally kick him out because he deserves to be kicked out years ago, which is true. What's interesting about this to me is you got a bunch of people who don't know who knows what, and they've all got billions of dollars on the line. And no matter who loses, I win because this boat is entertaining as hell. It really is. Take a break. Come back. Fight Club with Lonzo. And then we wrap it up with Twitter trending topics where I make the rules, but then Lonzo says that I can't make the rules, but that I make the rules. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
My world.
Stay tuned, stream. Be right back.
sports.com. At Ingles, we're proud to sponsor area athletics and volleyball. Whether we're building new fields for football, celebrating Friday night rivals, televising college basketball games, bringing a fan fest. No one gets the dedication to the home team like you guys. And we've got all the sports you can handle. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric, we provide transparent, upfront pricing you can depend on. Call Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric today, or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com.
I just don't think he's gonna.
Want to eat your children.
Welcome into the Fight Club, where we come at you like a Draymond Green Superman punch. Be thankful for that wall, because you'd be going down if it wasn't there. Lots of stuff to talk about, including this last weekend. We had a request earlier to talk wrestling. That's what we're going to do right here. Last weekend saw the return of Bray Wyatt. Rob, what did you think about that? I mean, they did the classic going off the air, showing the logo thing on the premium live event. And then suddenly the lights go dim, the fireflies come out, and we got what we got.
I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. I am intrigued to see what that character looks like tomorrow night on SmackDown. He's been advertised as showing up in New Orleans. What better place to have Bray make his comeback than in I'm assuming it's at the Smoothie King Arena right next to the Superdome. I thought it was B horror movie good, right? I thought the showing of the old Firefly Funhouse covered in cobwebs and dust and dirt was a nice touch. I thought that having the folks dressed as those characters, the humanized version, was very B horror movie. But as we learned from the AJ Styles Undertaker theatrics match, I am down for some good theatrical presence in my professional wrestling. I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
All right. As far as fantasy booking, predicting, whatever, who do you think Bray's going to be going up against? And here's a question that's been going around a bunch. Are the live versions of the Firefly Funhouse, are they going to be a part of the faction, and are they going to wrestle?
I'm going to say yes. And here's two thoughts on it. Number one, it's being thrown around that there is the Wyatt Six. Well, there's 5 of them and Bray. So it would make sense that they are. That big of a faction is very, very interesting though, right? Like when you get into bigger factions. But who goes after?
There's a big faction like that already.
Sure there is. And I'm not saying it can't work.
No, I'm saying it's called the Bloodline.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm saying you got to book it the right way. Now, what's interesting with Bray, Joe and I were talking about this earlier this week about how we would book this. I'll tell you exactly how I book it. I book it as Bray doesn't care about belts. He doesn't care about titles. He doesn't care about anything except it broke him when Vince let him go, right? And he is just back to make everybody suffer. He is just back to make everybody suffer at his hands for what he considered a slight by being let go. And that's where the evolution of this character is going to come from. So I don't necessarily have Bray going after anybody. I have Bray's stable going after everybody. Nobody's safe. And I'm including the authority figures in this.
Well, that would be good. But at the same time, you got to have, what's the end game for that?
No, see, I disagree. Here's one phrase that I hate in wrestling.
They already tried to do that with Mustafa Ali's guys. That
was not Bray Wyatt, right? You were sending me Massey and Mansoir. That's not the same. This is Bray Wyatt. The phrase that I hate in wrestling is you've got to blank. No, you don't. It's theater. You can do whatever you want. right? They constantly make up new rules as to how the universe works in the Avengers movies, and yet they're still selling millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of tickets every time they put out a new one. You don't gotta do anything. And I don't think there needs to. I think the end game for this character is everybody suffers at my hands. And what you've got the opportunity to do is kind of recreate a Nexus style story where eventually the only way to stop Bray is for everybody else to put their differences aside and team up against the Wyatt Six. And now all of a sudden you've got a juggernaut storyline that involves everybody.
All right. So I get what you're saying, but they've got to start with somebody. Who do they start with? It's not going to be Drew McIntyre because he's already being. So you think everybody just interrupt every match
like I said, I literally just said I hate the phrase "you've got to blank," and you answered it with "but you've got to blank."
But
you don't. The way
you do have to start with someone, or you attack no one. You have to attack someone first.
Okay, technically speaking, and somebody's got to take the first punch. I get it.
It is a fight club, and Rob just wants to fight with me, and we're saying the same thing, dude.
No, we're not. You're saying he needs. Let me phrase that. Let me ask it as a question. Are you saying he needs a feud out of the gate? Like
no.
You got to put him up in a feud?
No.
Or are you saying he's got to punch somebody first?
If you're going to do what you're saying and just attack everybody,
I get what you're saying.
Somebody has to get attacked first, and the first person to be attacked probably should be impactful. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I think Theory would be an interesting choice here, right? Like, because even though we've kind of ditched he's Mr. McMahon's protege angle, obviously, those who are paying attention understand why Austin Theory is where he is. I think he would be a good candidate. I think you can have him go after anybody who has Vince McMahon's connections up front. Like anybody who's still got Vince on him, you can go after those people first, and it would be a justified angle.
All right, so you don't think they go after like Braun Strowman or somebody who they've already had history? The thing is, we're already seeing storylines being developed all over the place since Triple H is taking control.
Yep.
And you would have to disrupt one of those storylines to start attack, or multiples to start attacking. That's all. I mean, the thing is, these guys or Bray, do they have to wrestle ever?
Yes, but again, I think you kind of work that into the story. When I say make people suffer, I'm not just necessarily talking about like physically by hitting them a bunch. I'm talking about within their feuds, right? Like you can have.
You mean what Dexter Lumis is doing to Miz?
Yes, but then also like for instance, it's worked out well in that on Monday. You've got Dexter v. Miz, and they're actually going to wrestle, and it means something, right? Like they put stakes on it. If Miz wins, Dexter's gone. If Dexter wins, he gets a contract. There's stakes to it. You can create angles where Bray screws with somebody a bunch, then he gets him in the ring, and his whole concept now becomes, now I'm going to make you suffer in the ring as much as I made you suffer out of it, and I think you've got a great character opportunity.
All right, speaking of returns, we've seen a ton of returns, including Brock Lesnar shows back up Monday night, beats up Bobby Lashley, and costs him the United States title. Are you tired of Brock Lesnar?
I don't understand this particular shot. Yes, I do. They're setting up. When is Blood Money? I mean, Crown Royal or whatever.
It's coming up soon. You know what? To me, no, I get it. The princes want certain people there, and that's when
this is a way to get Brock there.
Which is why Goldberg shows up so much.
And it's you get a Hoss fight, right? Oh, we all love a good Hoss fight. You got two big former MMA guys.
A good one, not a
Yeah, but I don't think this is a squash match. I think you can actually have Bobby wrestle Brock Lesnar and make it a Hoss fight and make it fun and engaging, but. Again, like you had Brock come out and then you immediately take, and don't get me wrong, like I'm happy Seth has a belt. I think Seth deserves a belt. Dude is entertaining as hell right now. But my question is like, you're bringing Brock back. Is this just a setup for a feud for Blood Money? Is this all it is? And if it is, that's fine.
By the way,
I'm not going to spend a bunch of time getting invested in it.
I'm better with it being that sort of thing instead of what it has been in the past when they go to Saudi and just suddenly there are matchups without any buildup at all. At least there would be a little bit of buildup here. Also, the Good Brothers come back. I've never been a big fan of those guys, but so you're bringing in AJ's guys, the basically the Bullet Club to go up against
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
Finn and the gang.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Sorry, listen, I'm not really pro or anti Gallows and Anderson. Like, I think they had some good moments. I also think they're probably too far down the tweener line. There's nothing about them that makes me go, okay, the Good Brothers are having a showdown. I've got to tune in this week.
All right, I'm going somewhere with this. Also, Legado del Fantasma debuts last week on SmackDown. Knew that was happening when they left NXT. So much as the problem that I thought AEW has and still has to a degree is Hunter bringing back too many people to the point where you have so many people. Admittedly, technically they have 3 shows because NXT quietly
has gotten much better.
Quietly, they went back to black and gold.
Yep.
It's been a subtle thing. Slowly all the tie-dye things has disappeared. And this past week, none of that was there. It was all black and gold, including the lighting has changed back to the black and gold lighting, which is much better. Doesn't mean it'll be the quality that it was back then, but it's definitely trending back that direction. And the fact that a lot of main roster stars are coming back to NXT, including I think it's next week or whenever Halloween Havoc is, you're going to have multiple stars coming back to be on that show. Do you think he's bringing back too many people?
I don't think so. You have, by the way, I saw that there is a leaked ad online right now that they might be cutting Raw back to 3 hours coming up, which would be very interesting.
I mean, 2 hours.
Yeah, sorry, backing it down. Yeah,
that's all right.
I don't know that I necessarily believe that, but yeah, look, you're looking at 2 main shows. You're looking at 5 main hours, and then you've got NXT where you can take a guy like Apollo or Mandy Rose and stick him and like let them actually work a little bit more. I don't think it's oversaturated. I don't think AEW is oversaturated either. I think the problem.
Well, when a bunch of your talent's out because they decide to fight, I mean that helps with the oversaturation. No, but it does help because it is not there.
Stupid. I think you can get away with it as long as you're creative in how you tell stories. Like, one thing that I enjoyed they've been doing is, and you can trust a guy like Kevin Owens to do this. Kevin had a segment last week on Raw where he told 3 different stories in one walk back segment, right? Like, he started talking to McIntyre and whoever the hell else he was talking to, Johnny Gargano. And then he walks down, like he leaves that conversation and he walks and he bumps into Sami Zayn, and he does something with Sami Zayn, and then he walks down the hall further and he talks to somebody else, and then they use that to transition into that story. If you use the time you have well, you don't need, like, I love Roman. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. I don't need 45 minutes of Roman walking to the ring.
Yeah, that takes forever, dude.
Why can't we fit more stories in? Because I got to watch Roman walk for 15 minutes. Like, Roman's whole ass segment is him just walking to the ring. And I get what you're trying to do.
Taking a minute or 2 before he says, acknowledge me. It does.
And I get what you're trying to do, and it works for the character. But every time that you burn a minute with Roman just standing there breathing, every time you burn a minute with these long entrances, etc., that's a minute you could have used to do something else with somebody else somewhere else. Kevin did a great job with that, where he told 3 different stories in one 2.5 minute backstage piece. And it's like, you've just advanced 3 stories at the same time. Be creative, and no, your roster's not saturated. You got plenty of opportunity there. You just got to use it.
All right, just a minute or so left. Let's go AEW. Orange Cassidy defeats Pac last night for the All Atlantic Championship. Are you surprised by this?
Not really.
Does this diminish Pac to a degree? Because
no.
I think it can a little because of his intensity compared to, you know, what Orange Cassidy is. And I know he picks it up during the matches when he pulls down the elbow pad and all that kind of stuff. And I was shocked. I really was.
Not shocked at all for a couple of reasons. Number one, at the end of the day, a wrestling company is a wrestling company. A wrestling company's job is to make money. And Orange Cassidy is wildly over with fans right now. Number two, they are trying to tell the story that Orange Cassidy, despite the hilarious laziness of the character, is actually also a really good wrestler, and Pac is known that way too. Now, I'm gonna tell you, the trios belts don't do anything for me. Like I thought up front it's a good idea, but now in execution, it's not been what I wanted it to
because
be.
it was designed for one reason,
Right?
To have the elite on there,
Correct.
and then the thing happened and they're not there.
Correct. So that angle I think has kind of run its course a little bit for me. But no, I mean, I think, well, hell, we went to an AEW event. Orange Cassidy came out to do nothing at all, and the place lost its mind.
That's true. That is true.
Pac's not going anywhere. That guy can work. He can go with anybody and put on a great match. You still have a lot of places you can utilize him, but you just put over probably your most popular wrestler who doesn't go on the front marquee every day.
All right, last thing. A lot of people are being critical online of Tony Khan's storylines right now. The fact that Garcia left and then Garcia swerved last night to help Jericho retain the title without it making any sense. And there have been some other things like Jamie Hayter and things like that. So you're setting up a feud, then suddenly the feud's just gone. It's dispelled with no reason. Do you think he's losing it a little bit from that standpoint?
No, I don't, but I'll say this. I think part of this comes from, as we said earlier in the segment, there are so many people who are like, you've got to do it this way. No, you don't. Do whatever you want. And in real life, people pull at crap like this all the time, right? Like we've all been backstabbed. We've all seen somebody make you think they're in your corner till they get what they want, and then they move on. The only problem is you're telling the same story in two different places, right? You're telling it with Hayter and you're telling it with Garcia. If I watch one comic book movie, I don't need to turn around and watch the same. That's part of the reason that I'm not intrigued by Black Adam. Is he's just Superman, right? He's just Superman with a violent streak.
He's not, though. We don't have time, but he's not even close.
The way they are pitching this movie for the uneducated into Black Adam, he's Superman, but he doesn't mind dropping people from high places. That's it. That's the way it's being sold.
He's closer to Shazam than he is to.
I'm making a point.
I know.
You are a comic book dude. You know that. If you only had the trailers to go on, he literally dresses like Superman and he just flies up and he drops you instead, right? So the point is, you tell the same story multiple times, you get nothing out of it. And I think that's the trap he might be falling in. Coming back to wrap this thing up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
So I don't know if it's just me getting on his nerves or if he's just having a bad day. I don't know. Funny you should say that, Steven. We will give them out at the end of the show. So maybe even instead of Twitter trending topics, since everybody keeps tweeting and texting in and taking all my stuff. So I can't hear unless I do it during a break, and I have to have enough time to, or else whoever wins will have to repeat themselves 10 times. Because it's loud in here. One of the setbacks to having to being in the same room. He never does. It's on me anyway. So Now that is a poppin' Hawaiian shirt. If I can see it from all the way up here. Yeah, there are a few. Trey, there are a few Chick-fil-A's. Yeah, I think it does come down to breakfast. You're right, and putting a little more butter on it probably would definitely help him.
Guys, I like butter.
This is all my fault. The show went downhill when I painted Rob as a butter hater, and I would like to publicly apologize to Rob right now. Although I've never seen him eat butter, he says he likes it, so he probably does. So I'm gonna take his word for it. All right, we have tickets to give away. So there's that. Just letting you know I'm going to do that. Might go back and watch the training video because there was supposedly an online site.
Videos.
Yeah, there's an online site that you can also use for that, and I wonder if I could just use that. Again, I can go home and put the software that I have on my computer now that I know I'm allowed to do it, and I'll have it done like in a couple of minutes. I'll have to redo it, but still, it wasn't for lack of trying. As you know, because I was still texting you, and I went straight home after I got off from here and struggled with that program to try to make it work. Well, if you let the first bit of butter like harden, then you can spread butter on top of the butter. Because then if you don't, then the butter mixes with the butter. You don't want that to happen.
I will say this. I very frequently use my microwave to melt butter. Melted butter on a biscuit's the way to go. Spread butter's fine. Melted butter's it. If you say butter.
I wasn't going to.
Okay.
Like I got a couple things to get to really quick, and then we got tickets to give away. So stand by for that. Two things, because most of my stuff got crossed off because you people keep sending stuff in and spoiling Rob.
Yeah, you
people, all you butter lovers. You basically dared me to do it. All right, the first thing that's trending is Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx went to Cardi B's birthday party.
Late.
Which he was invited to.
Late.
But he showed up late.
I'm not doing that, Steve Rome. Jim Rum, whatever, Steve, Bob, whatever his name is. Not doing that late thing.
You know, the most famous radio host in our industry. Jamie Foxx showed up to Cardi B's birthday party late. And by the time he got there, the venue they were at did not have a table at him or for him. And so I don't know if they like kicked him out or Jamie Foxx got mad left. There's only one thing I know about
They turned him away. There's video.
They did turn him away?
Yeah, they turned him away.
Here's the only
him and
thing,
his 10 people that he brought with him.
His entourage. Here's the only thing I know. I like Jamie Foxx as an actor, as a performer. I like Jamie Foxx. I could not care less about this at all. I could not. I got on Twitter last night.
Me either. I just put it on here because it was trending. Because you know why it's trending? Because there are some people who do care.
Really, yeah. I got on Twitter last night. I'm watching the Braves. The Braves Phillies game. I get on Twitter late at night. It's like bottom of the ninth. There's 2 outs, and I'm like, let me pop on the social and see what people are talking about. I see Jamie Foxx is trending. I'm like, all right, I like Jamie Foxx. What'd he do? And there are thousands of people with really strong opinions about Jamie Foxx not being allowed inside Cardi B's birthday party. I could not care less if you paid me to.
It's a pop culture influencer kind of world. We want to give away tickets to the Furman game, which is day after tomorrow, starts at 2 p.m. against Western Carolina. If you are caller number 5 right now, you'll get those tickets. I don't have the number in front of me, so Rob's going to have to.
844-326-3663. Caller number 5, you said?
5.
Caller number 5 right now,
5
844-326-3663. You're getting 2 tickets to this Saturday's Furman game, and your name will be entered for the grand prize drawing for the VIP experience, which will get you down on the field, a tour of Radio Box, and to watch the game from the President's Suite. Caller number 5 to 844-326-3663. The rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow.
Butter.
Yeah, it'll be a butter show tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream.
I thought he was going to say later, butter.
Oh, I missed it. I am so disappointed in myself. All right, we'll see you guys back tomorrow. Thank you.